needs to be medicated and hospitalized at this point, or he is going to just kill all of us.
This is dangerous. This is childish. This is unpresidential. It's not befitting the leader of the free world.
He is not merely being cavalier with a threat about nuclear war. He's being cavalier in a way that makes him seem demented.
Should Americans be concerned about the president's mental fitness, that he appears to be speaking so lightly about threats regarding the nuclear button?
Now we're talking about the president's mental fitness, or you don't like his policies or views or tweets, but you can take it to that level. Like, it's a little weird, right? Times-Gazette publisher, editor Gary Abernathy. Gary, I don't think I've ever remembered anything like this. What do you think?
No, I think you're right, Neil. It's precedent setting. I think that they yearn for the days when we had a president who, cowered from bullies. When bullies spout off, like Kim Jong-un on crazy tweets he sends out. And they do what they call a reserved response or a measured response. And a lot of Americans are tired of being bullied and insulted. And President Trump's someone who's going to come right back at you.
Do you think there is a risk to the comeback with talking about I have a button too and it's bigger and all that? You know the drill, that it doesn't befit, a president of the United States?
No, I don't agree with that. I think we're at a time where a lot of Americans like the fact that a president fires back. Neil, we're tired of being kicked around by bullies like this guy. I remember during the campaign in 2016 when Hillary Clinton and others were saying, well, President Trump shouldn't talk about ISIS the way he does. He's helping ISIS recruit new members to ISIS. They're going to get stronger. They're going to get madder. We worry about making these people madder. Well, what's happened to ISIS? What have we done? The recruitment effort apparently didn't work very well.
Well, there is that. The one thing I'm wondering about now, in light of this Michael Wolff book that's out, and Wolff saying that 100% of the people he's talked to are convinced that the president is in over his head and not fit to do the job, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously, you would think that if they felt that way, they'd say that and make it clear and get rid of him or go public on that. But it's working from another angle now that you might not like this guy personally, but he is unfit mentally for office. It's a whole nother line of attack. Yeah.
Neil, I've never seen so much credence given. The news organizations claim to hate being called fake news, and yet they're giving all this attention and time to a book whose author admits maybe half the book is not true. I mean, in early pages of the book, he apparently admits a lot of the things in this book aren't true or may not have happened, and I don't even believe them. But I'll let the reader decide.
I think the way you explain it is that a lot of these are based on conversations I've had of people who were in those incidents and things. But you're quite right. It does raise questions about how much you can believe, how much you can't believe. But when the book starts with the premise, the president's a nutcase, I mean, all right, you disagree with him. We on this show have gotten into the tweeting thing and disparaging members in his own party and all. But do you think he rebounds from this? I mean, I don't think it's affecting anything in the scheme of things. These tell-all books, even in the middle of a presidency, seem to come and go. But what are your thoughts?
I look at the Real Clear Politics average of polls every day, like you probably do, and a lot of people do. President's poll numbers have actually been going up. I even noticed that Gallup had him at 40, which for Gallup was very high. Gallup usually has had him at 35, 36. Rasmussen has him at 45, I think, as of yesterday or this morning. The average is up. I think most Americans realize this. And the sad part, Neil, as a journalist, is I hate to see journalism do this to itself. I hate to see them go down this road, whether it's questioning the president's psychiatric health or giving credence to a book whose author admits probably most of this is not true. This is why respect and trust in journalism is at its lowest ebb.
The one thing I do remember a little bit, maybe dating myself as a result here, so if you'll indulge me, is there was a lot of second guessing about Richard Nixon's mental capacity in the waning months of Watergate. We learned later on that he was under enormous pressure, and if you believe Woodward and Bernstein, he was, praying to photographs or, drawings in the White House. Much was said the same about LBJ at the height of the Vietnam War, that he had lost support, that he was a man on an island. But this is going a whole nother level.
Yeah. Oh, it really is. And in both those cases, you had a couple of guys who had some reasons to be a little depressed. Nixon was at the end, Watergate was closing out. Yeah. President Trump, first of all, it doesn't strike me. A lot of people criticize him for this. I don't think he's a guy that sits around and does a lot of self-reflection and probably sits around at midnight. We know he doesn't drink, drinking himself into a stupor. So this is just a different kind of president than what people are used to. And they yearn for the old days and the predictable way that they could claim a president should act. And President Trump is where he's at because it's a new day and there's no going back. And instead of trying to judge him mentally unfit, it's just getting used to his personality. This is who he is.
Yeah, except about it. I just think it's a dangerous leap when you start going down that tack. I mean, you can talk about a president being rude or crude or whatever, but I mean, that's a whole dangerous another area.
It is dangerous, but again, I don't think most of the public, Neil, buys into it. I think the public recognizes the partisan attacks for what they are, and the partisans who agree with that are going to love that, but I don't think it influences those Americans who, aren't part of that group to begin with.
Yeah, we'll see. It's crazy stuff, literally. All right, thank you very, very much. I appreciate it, my friend.